Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry, Mr. CAO. Apologize. It is 4 o'clock, and I'm used to watching the clock at the arena, but now I'm watching the clock here. So, thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Councillor Mealy here. Mayor Minions could not make today, so she sends her regrets, but she will be here the next meeting. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize that we are lucky and fortunate to be doing business here today on the unceded traditional lands of the Sechot and the Hoopachesta First Nations. So I've called this meeting to order, obviously. Any late items identified by committee members? Hearing none. Any late items identified by the corporate officer?
No, Chair Mealy.
Thank you very much. And notice of video recording? We are live streaming this, recorded and broadcast on YouTube, correct? All right, excellent. Seeing no other additions to the agenda, can I have a motion that is approved as circulated? Councillor Solda, second. Councillor Dame, all those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. We have minutes from the previous meeting, which would have been all the way back in July 25th, 2022, held at 4 o'clock. It has been circulated. Are there any questions, comments on the minutes? Move to adopt by Councillor Solda. Do we have a seconder? Second, Councillor Haggard. All those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. Delegations, I see none. Unfinished business, staff reports, correspondence. Let's just go right down to new business then, shall we? Mr. Smith.
So thank you, committee. I think I'd like to first start by taking this opportunity to kind of introduce you to the Development Services Department, especially for new councillors. In attendance today, we have Mary Ann Wade, who some of you, or if you've met before, a manager of planning. Brian McLaughlin behind me, he's our Planner 2 position. Then other people who are in our department is Cara Foden. She's been a planning technician with the community for a very long time. Actually, her 25th year of service just this year. Rob Goodrow is our one building inspector, and Melissa's last name, and Melissa Tardif, who has worked for the city for a while but has recently changed over to our Development Services Department as a Development Services Clerk. And we currently have 2 vacant positions in the department that we're actively trying to recruit for: a second building inspector and another Planner 1 position. So wanted to come to the committee to take this opportunity to inform this new council on several major policy projects that we have underway, that the department has begun and moving forward for, and is in various different parts of the process, and also potentially about some future policy projects that the department is considering in future years, and that will of course depend on this council's direction. Mary Ann Wade has prepared an excellent PowerPoint presentation that she is going to go through with you, And both her and I and Brian, if need be, are here to answer questions after each section to bring council up to speed and get some conversation going. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ann just to help take you through the presentation.
There we go. Good afternoon, committee. Well, here we are. We're going to talk today about where we are today and where we're heading in 2023. So first off, we put together a work plan, and in the work plan, we talked about the long-range projects, and we're talking about the ones that are underway, that are in green, and then the new projects that are highlighted in blue. And of course, in yellow is administration, because we just wanted to highlight that although we have current and long-range planning projects, we also have administration, which we are working on to improve our processes and customer service over the upcoming year. And many of those initiatives are underway already. So the ones that I'm going to go into more detail with are the ones that we're underway right now, which is our OCP update, the zoning housekeeping bylaw, the building bylaw, and fee update, and also the development procedures bylaw. A lot of this work has been researched and is in a drafted position so that we can move forward in Q1 with a lot of the projects. So I've outlined this work plan, and I will start moving through it. So many of you are probably aware that we've started and initiated the OCP update and been working on our visions and touchstones. Okay, here we go again. I know, there, I got it. The wand doesn't like me very much. So why are we doing the OCP project? Well, the OCP was last adopted in 2007, so that's 15 years ago, and City of Port Alberni's changed quite a bit. It's good practice to review the OCPs every 5 years to ensure that we're aligned with our housing needs and also our financial planning. There we go. So what is the OCP project? Well, the OCP is a long-term plan, 20-year time frame, and it's used to guide development, land use, and other areas of interest. And we have a specific list of things that we have to do according to our Local Government Act in Section 41. And an OCP must have direction on growth and land use, greenhouse gas target reduction targets, housing needs, and many of you today probably heard Minister Eby's release about the Housing Supply Act. So this we'll be having to refer back to our housing needs and set targets as we see that rolling out. The also infrastructure planning, where we're going to plan future growth, planning for school facilities, and then restrictions on use in areas that are hazardous or environmentally sensitive. So those are the things we'll be working on. We can also, an OCP may have policy statements on the natural environment as far as protection and conservation, and also we can have social well-being policies and development and agricultural land. So those are the ones that, as we go through the process, we'll discuss with the community and bring those forward. The process that we're taking is a community-based process. I like to call it grassroots. Versus a traditional approach. A traditional approach has been develop a plan, take it to the public, get some reaction, come back. We've taken the approach that we're starting by listening to the community and working through in what I would call a circular fashion, so that we're always going back, reporting back, informed, listening. This provides us with listening to the diversity of our community voices, getting feedback from the community, and expertise as we go through the process. We're building relationships, and we've also started with the First Nations engagement as well in this process. Does it go? Okay, there it is. So the OCP approach, we're also using what they call the IAP2, which is the International Association of Public Participation, which is a globally recognized professional practice for engagement. So it involves that we inform, consult, and evolve and collaborate. And the decision maker in this process is council. That's part of the process, who makes the decision at the end of the day. So in this model, it is council. The project team will engage and listen to the community interests. We're trying to understand, listen, hear, report back on, and include as appropriate as we move through the OCP. So here's a couple of pictures because we've been busy out there. This is us at the Fall Fair having a little pop-up. We've done about 10 of those. And we did a little Slido exercise where people talked about what they felt when we had what we called the stakeholder meeting back in June and again in September. And so this was kind of the key words that people felt like. So, you know, they're hopeful, they're encouraged, they're enlightened, they're walking the talk, optimistic. So a very good start in the process. And then we've actually engaged with 5 youth classes. So it's been great. And that's their Bullseye project. And we got excellent feedback from the students in regards to the kids being involved. They were very thrilled that somebody asked how they wanted to see their future, and we're very excited. So we got lots of good comments back from them. So the milestones completed to date, March to June, we've done our first survey. There were some walking tours, a vision. We've done 2 what we've heard reports, analyzing what we've heard. In August, we reported back to council. We talked about the draft vision and touchstones, got some feedback, and then we went back out to the community to hear what the community thought about the draft vision and touchstones. We got some excellent feedback, really good comments from a diversity of voices, which we've been analyzing. And can go. So the upcoming milestones that we're going to do is we're just have received the draft report for what we heard, and we're just reviewing that, and we are going to be introducing the revised vision and touchstones for council support. We're looking at bringing that forward in the very near future to council. We're going to do the OCP Policy Development Engagement Strategy, which we'll bring to council in January for support to implement. And then in February, we will start publishing baseline information, which will help inform the community of where we are today and where are we heading, and get their input on it so that we can figure out as we grow, how are we growing, where are we going to place density, those sorts of things. So then through March and June, that engagement process would roll out. We would be informing and consulting and involving, again, that circular process, different communication tactics. And then in July and August, we'd be drafting the OCP with what we've heard and technical information and best practices and policy development. And then we'd be bringing it back to council for consideration in the formal process in September. Oh. We're dueling. There we go. So there's questions. So I thought I'd pause here, and if you had any questions of where we are in the OCP, happy to answer.
Thank you, Councillor Mealy. This isn't a question, it's a comment. I just really want to thank the planning staff for all your hard work on this OCP. I know it must be quite the process. But I really want to especially thank you for engaging with the youth in our community on this process. Really, this is who it's going to be for and who's going to be using it, who's going to be benefiting from the process. And I just think that's fantastic. And I've heard from a couple of mothers whose students are working on the OCP that you're working with, and they're just so excited and thrilled to be part of the process. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hager, for that feedback. We've had really great engagement and positive comments. And the comments that I've just had with talking back with the teachers, the kids are just so ecstatic. So we will be engaging with them as we go through. We're going to go back to those groups, yes.
And I think I'd just like to add one more thing to that, because that was one of the ones in our early engagement. We saw that that was a missing piece. And so I want to give Marianne a lot of credit, and Frank Planning, a consultant that we brought on, they specifically worked really hard to make that engagements with the kids and the teachers, and I think that's now been made, so that will really help moving this project forward. But that was one of those ones in the early part of our process. We noticed that was a missing piece, and so, you know, I just want to say that, you know, that's one of those ones where sometimes things take a little longer when you identify that and you know you need to go do that extra effort. So
I have one small question, sorry, and it's a lovely PowerPoint presentation. Could council get a copy of that
Yes.
as an email? Thank you.
All right, so I'll try to move forward. There we go. Okay, so the zoning housekeeping bylaw. So we've been working on this. We've been listening to the comments about things like accessory dwelling units, cleaning up a lot, or clarifications. So we've been working with our consultant from McElhaney and putting together a table and a draft. And so I'm too far now. No. Yeah, so we've been working on this in the background over the last few months. So we're feeling like we're getting into pretty good shape right now on this. And it's important that the zoning bylaws are sort of updated every 5 years and should be aligned with provincial legislation and the OCP. So as we move forward, you know, every 5 years, you look at your OCP, you make your changes to the zoning bylaw, unless there's other legislation that comes into place and you need to make some amendments. So why are we calling this a housekeeping bylaw? Well, the intent will be that we will repeal and replace the existing one and clean it up so that it's formatted for easier use. We'll be dealing with some of the zones and dealing with things that we know are not working in the implementation to do like infill housing. So we're going to address some of those. We're going to bring forward the accessory dwelling units and define those and show how they would lay out on a lot. We're looking to clarify some of the limitations that we know that is in the way of infill housing. So some of our lot sizes and what the existing zoning is on it, and how do we rectify that so that we can encourage that infill housing. We're also going to look at cleaning up the general regulations. There's a lot of regulations that are built into the zone, so we're going to pull those out and put them into general regulations. The best example is the density bonusing, because we need to pull that out and then make it more in line with best practices so that it is a more useful tool for encouraging density bonusing for affordable housing. So that's basically what we're doing with this bylaw. And so, you know, what is this project about? Well, we're working with McElhaney as our consultant, and what we're going to be doing is developing a table which will show what the changes are that we're making so that it's succinct and transparent for council and the community. And we've been listening to what council has said and trying to bring and address those issues in this document. We're going to hopefully try to get this to you for first reading and introduction and discussion on December the 12th. That's our goal. And then from there, we would go out for engagement in January, because this will be a formal process where we'll have to do second reading, we'll have to do public hearing. So we want to get some engagement in place, put it up on Let's Connect, and then with the objective of trying to get the second reading of the bylaw at the end of February going into March. It's a little bit of an aggressive timeline, but we start it and see how we go. And then after we do the OCP, we will do a full update of the zoning bylaw, so that would come out after the OCP. So And so here's the upcoming milestones that I just went over. Introduce it in December for first reading and discussion, and then engagement, and then bring it back for council consideration of bylaws in the formal process. And questions?
Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. I was just wondering, so would an example of some of these changes might be, for example, editing the relationship between parking and the size of the structure that's being built, so that they don't necessarily have to have, for example, 10 parking spots for that particular building? Are we looking at stuff like that?
Yeah, we'll be looking at some of the parking requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you, Ms. Wade. What about carriage home allowances? Is that something also included in that? And I didn't hear exactly that, but I'm sure it was.
I used the term accessory dwelling units because there's various definitions, and the idea would be that we would introduce those on a lot, and you could either have like a secondary suite, or you could have like a laneway or a carriage house. You could have it either on the ground level or above a garage. So those are the types of uses, and we'll define those.
Just a note, Mayor Minions did give her strong support for this, so just wanted to put it out there because she's not here today. So.
Yeah. Okay. So the building bylaw. We are in the process right now of drafting this, along with, we've done our research on the building permit fees so that we can make some recommendations for increases to the fees. We are relatively low in our building permit fees compared to many other jurisdictions. So what we're going to do is in 2018, the MIABC created some model building bylaws, and they did them for various size of municipalities to standardize a building bylaw that came from the BC Building Code. And what they did is they provided these templates to municipalities so that the municipality could then adopt that and adjust it if they had some specific things that they needed to put in, be it seismic, flood, snow loads, those sorts of things. So that's what we're drafting up right now. And with that would be a recommendation for the building permit fee increase as well. This started in 2018 and was vetted by Lidstone, MIBC, David Tupper, who's a lawyer with them, as well as dealing with the BOBAC, the AIBC, the architects, and the engineers. So everybody got on board with this. So that's why this is such a good template to use. And so why are we doing this? Well, the bylaw was consolidated from 2006 to 2016. There's been 2 updates to the BC Building Code, one in 2018 and one that's being contemplated right now that it will come effective in January. The main revisions to these, to the BC Building Code have been to deal with climate action and alignment with provincial and federal targets. The idea to be net zero ready for 2032 for the Part 9 homes, and also with Part 3 homes as well, or Part 3 buildings, which are complex buildings. So this is what is coming in with the change, which will also dovetail with our greenhouse gas emissions and climate action policies and targets that we'll have in the OCP as well. And then we'll bring forward the proposed recommendations for the building permit fees. Okay. So we've been working with our consultant on this who's been helping us, and the idea would be that we'll replace the existing bylaw, and so we'll repeal and replace. This is also considered to be a procedural bylaw, so it would be for 3 readings and then come back at a later date for adoption or final reading. And so we're going to try to see if we can present on the 12th for an introduction, but if not, it'll be in a cow or in January, but we'll see how far we can get for the 12th. So there we are. That's the milestones there. So we're in the draft stage now, and then we thought we'd bring it to the cow because there'll be some discussion, and we do need to engage with the industry on this as well, and then bring it back for consideration of the bylaw readings. Questions on that one? Okay. Where?
To the accessory housing.
Oh, yeah.
Bylaws. My question was, will we be, will it basically be in line with the provincial standard bylaws for accessory housing? I know that a lot of communities, I've been told that ours was not quite yet in alignment with what most communities in a given province have implemented. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
fully understand how BC bylaws apply to municipal bylaws.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious.
You're just saying like provincial standards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we do is we look at the best practices in the province and then bring that forward in how we would define and how we would do the site plan layout, because one of the things that is an issue we have to overcome is we have very large rear setbacks. And so we need to look at reducing those in order to accommodate a laneway house or a carriage house. And so we have to, those are the kind of things that we have to bring forward in our recommendations for that. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Just one clarification. There aren't provincial regulations for accessory dwelling units. Each local government can set their own. Now, there's a lot of municipalities that have done this and do permit them, but we will create our own regulations that's right for Port Alberni. But as Mary Ann said, we've reviewed. One of the advantages of not being first is you get to see what has worked in other municipalities and things like that. So we're reviewing what other municipalities have done, and we'll craft that for our zoning bylaw and our regulations. That council will again be the approver, but we'll go out to the industry and stuff and see what they have to say about that. But there isn't an overriding provincial saying it must be this, that, and this. It's within your jurisdiction to allow them and then to set what those exact rules and regulations are under our zoning bylaw.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, and I certainly didn't mean to insult your process or anything like that. It
No.
was just me, my
No.
own.
I just wanted to be
Be
sure that you
clarification,
didn't
so-
think there was a provincial standard.
Right, no, and that
necessarily,
is a
so-
good clarification. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I remind council or committee members to push the button on their mic when they speak so we can capture that? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mealy. I'm just wondering, you said that you're going to be engaging with industry. What will that process look like? I'm just curious.
What we would do is use the Let's Connect process, and then we would go out and go into the various stakeholders, probably do a online survey as well, just to see where people are at. It's good to go and talk with the builders and the realtors and, the stakeholders in the community that are working with it all the time and getting their feedback on that. And also homeowners that are looking to, have that alternative, rental unit or something in their, So it's important to engage with the industry to get the feedback on it. It will go to a public hearing, so it's good to get that input as we develop it.
Thank you very much. Do you interact with the Chamber of Commerce in that way then?
Yes, they're on our stakeholder list that we're
Yeah.
using with the OCP as well.
Great, thanks.
All right. Okay. I need Twyla's help. There we go. This thing does not like me. The Development Procedures Bylaw is another project. There's been a number of legislative changes that we need to incorporate into a Development Procedures Bylaw. And this is an important project for a number of reasons. There we go. So under Section 460 of the LGA, it's important, the municipality must adopt a development procedures bylaw. Currently, we have a development applications notice bylaw, which helps with the OCP and zoning bylaw amendments, but does not cover like development permits or temporary use permits and other permits. So we need to expand and then also bring in some of the changes that have happened in Bill 26, which is the delegation of minor development permits. Also the delegation of minor development variance permits, process for development permits, the process of waiving public hearings in reliance to if your zone, if that use aligns with the OCP, then you can waive the public hearing. So there's a process now that has come out where you can give notice prior to first reading. And there's also some changes that are going on with how you give notice as well. So all those things would be considered in this development procedures bylaw. And this would really help with reducing processing times and also the delivery of housing, which again is something that the Premier Edie has brought up today. And previously the Minister of Housing, Josie Osborne. So this is bringing all this together in this bylaw. This again is a procedural bylaw, and so it would have the first 3 readings and then come back at a later date. And we'd also are going to review some of the existing fees for land use applications and make some recommendations about fee increases for our land use applications as well. So the draft is underway, and we hope to bring this to a committee of the whole in January, and then identify what engagement we might need, post it on Let's Connect, and then bring it back in February, March for council's consideration. Any questions on this one?
I do, if I may. So the main part of that is to really help streamline the process. I saw customer experience and I saw that. So, and I do I've been told, I haven't been downstairs yet, nice place downstairs, but to get a building permit or a permit, there's a notice downstairs saying it could be a 10 to 12 week process. Is that correct? So that's correct. So that's going to help as well as, hopefully another person as well, I'm going to assume would also help the situation. But that's part of it, is to try to streamline it, make it easier for the smaller uses as well, right?
Yeah, so like for example, if we do a development variance permit now, we have to give notice. There's these 3 and 10 days. It has to come to council. And so part of the streamlining in Bill 26 is to delegate a minor DP, a development variance permit. And so we have to define that. And then that would mean that you wouldn't have to give notice. It would just be delegated, and the planning department could deal with it. So those sorts of things will help expedite things, because a lot of it is just siting of a building and adjusting it. So that's how that would really help a lot. It'll also lay out all the processes, like for rezoning, amendment, temporary use permit, so everybody understands, with probably a graphic to show the flow. And then that, once approved, and it would then go up to our web page as well, so we get that out as well. Yeah.
Thank you. This might be too specific. I was just wondering about development cost charges. Where do they fit into this, or do they at all? Is that a totally separate?
Not in this one, but it's on the work plan for.
Okay.
Yes. So we wouldn't, with development cost charges, we really need master plans, it's quite a in-depth process. So right now with the OCP, we need to look at our master plans with utilities so we can identify those growth areas. And then those studies will have to be done, because you need those studies to inform what those development cost charge projects are. and any changes to the rate. And then that goes for consideration to the inspector, and the inspector reviews it, and then they say, okay, that's good, or you might have to consider something. And there's a big formula attached to it. It's very intense.
Okay, yeah, and I don't want to derail the presentation here, but I was just wondering, have DCCs been updated in the last 10 years?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
So I'm really excited that the OCP plan's being done. I was there in the past doing that one, yes, in 2007, so it's been a long time. And especially with the community, it's continuing growing, and we're seeing a lot of changes, and I think this is a really positive step, and to see where we want how we want our community to be grown and stuff like that. So all that's being presented, it's in line with other communities and what they're doing, would you say, or is this going to be just separate, like our own? I mean, I know it's our own in the long run, but.
Yeah, I'd like to say it's a made in Port Alberni document. It's nice to look at other examples, but the grassroots approach makes it the voice of the community as we go through it. So I think it will have more of a made in Port Alberni.
Okay, and the other thing too is just going to Let's Connect site. It would be great to advertise that more, just so people would understand what is Let's Connect. I mean, we've referenced it throughout this this meeting, so more and more people need to know what Let's Connect is all about. So maybe you could allude to that for the public that's watching right now.
Yeah, so the Let's Connect PA .ca is, if you put that in your web browser, it'll just pull it up right away. There is also on our webpage, there's a little icon on there that you can click on it and it'll take you to Let's Connect as well. And so it's an engagement tool. The software is called Bang the Table, and then it's adjusted, and municipalities, reframe it into their branding, and that's what we've done. Okay.
I saw in the minutes from the committee of the whole meeting back in July that the point was raised that the city needed to engage with a younger demographic regarding the OCP, and it sounds like you've done an excellent job as far as like the kids and stuff goes. I'm just wondering, have you had any success since then engaging with the postgraduate age, with the 20-somethings? I think it was at that time the surveys were it was 90% who engaged that way were over the age of 33, and I'm just a little concerned. And again, it's a challenge to try to hit that age group maybe, but given this is it's a 20-year document, what ways have we explored in trying to engage with those that 20 to 30 age group?
We've actually reached out to the various, like North Island College, and working on how we can engage with them. We've actually got some ideas now to do pop-ups with them. So as we move into the policy development, we'll be doing that. It's a very good point that we're trying to expand into that. The youth has worked out really well in this round, and we understand that group as well. So we have reached out to the colleges, and they're helping us with ideas on tactics for engagement. And so we're going to build that into the engagement plan that you will see coming forward. And then we'll report on the demographics that we have been able to touch and identify the gaps that we still have too.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just pausing here. This is the work plan. So for next year, some of the major projects we're looking at is a subdivision bylaw update, a business licensing and fees update, and also proposing an APC bylaw update as well. And those are all put into the budget for consideration for 2023. And regarding the development cost charges, for the budget going forward, there is a small amount that's been put aside or earmarked to try to do what we would call a minor little update to the development cost charges. there's some tools that we might be able to look at with that, which it would be a conversation when we talk about work plans for 2023. But it's on our radar, is what I wanted to say. So that's really it that I have. I think that was my last slide. Yep. So if there's any other questions, I know that we're really busy. Outside of this, we have all our regular applications that we're dealing with, plus the long-range planning, and then dealing with the processes and looking at software improvements and things like that as well. So we're busy.
There's no doubting that. Any questions for Ms. Wade, please?
That was the comment that I was going to make, that not only doing record-breaking developments in the community, but you're doing all this on top of that. So double your staff. I'm impressed. Wow.
That sounds like that should be a budget discussion, sorry. No. Anyone else with a question? Questions at all? No? Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time.
Yeah,
We love it.
thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, if we could, at least for me, but if council could get a copy of the PDFs for all
Yes.
those, that'd be wonderful. Thank you kindly.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. That's the end of new business. If I'm not mistaken, it is question period. An opportunity for anyone in the audience and any staff person, any counselor to ask questions. Do you have any questions? No? That's okay. You can always email us if you have questions, so. Seeing none, unless there's anything else, it is 4:41. Can I have a motion to adjourn? By Councillor Solda, second by Councillor Douglas. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for being good to me.